fantasy track at DragonCon. We're very happy to have Jim with us today. What we're going to do is give you guys as much time as possible to ask questions. So what we're going to do is, you see one young lady here, you see Erica with a mic, and she's got a white shirt. You're going to begin lining up behind her, or over here with Sheila, who has a cap on and a black t-shirt, which is that a DragonCon shirt? I can't remember. Okay. Anyway, I have a couple of questions for Jim, and then while everybody's lining up, and then we'll get to yours. I guess we don't really need to introduce you in any way, do we? I mean, I think you write some stuff.
No, we all know each other, right?
Yeah. And I think you write this series of books about this guy that I believe you referred to yesterday as a magical plumber. Yes. So this is Jim Butcher, everybody, just in case you didn't know. I would really like to address two things about the series that most impress me, that really interest me the most. And one of them is that I think that you meld the mundane world and the supernatural world so well. And did you set out to do that purposely, or is it something that just kind of came together as you started writing the series and continued on?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was kind of the whole idea. What I wanted was to write this character who was a wizard and who did all these, fantastic supernatural, otherworldly things, but who was basically the nerd next door, like the kind of guy who might show up at your barbecue and would be amusing.
Now I have images of Harry coming to my barbecue.
I would never want Harry at my barbecue.
Why? Oh, we don't need lighter fluid.
That would be kind of scary.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing that I really enjoy about the series is your use of humor. That you do such a nice job of playing the line between subtle and overt so well that sometimes he can be a little snarky, but he gets to that point where you always pull him back, where you don't say, "Oh my God, this guy drives me insane." So again, was that something that was purposeful, or did he just find his voice over time?
Well, as far as him lipping off to people, as far as him being snarky, I don't know where he gets that. That's just sort of something that I kind of grew into and developed more and more as my son got older. Because man, if you think I'm snarky, a teenager, he's 22. Oh, he started when he was 11. Oh my gosh. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he gets it.
Can you tell us a little bit about the upcoming new series?
The upcoming new series is called The Cinder Spires. The first book is titled The Aeronaut's Windlass. It's a steampunk series, although I don't know if it's really so much steampunk as steam opera. But I didn't really think that they would put a whole new genre thing on the spine or anything like that for me. So, but yeah, I think it's really more steam opera. It's kind of Hornblower meets League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Actually, it's Hornblower meets X-Men, but League of Extraordinary Gentlemen seems a little steampunkier. But anyway, it's going to be a good time. It's gotten a really, really good response from the beta readers, stronger than anything else I've written so far. And hopefully it will be something that folks will enjoy.
I want to be a beta reader.
As you can tell, all these folks are looking forward to it very much. Okay, if we will start with our questions with Sheila over here.
Hi, Jim. I'm the one that ran into you last night on the street. Remember?
That was weird. I'm not used to that kind of thing. So, but not unpleasant, just weird.
I look at author books because I look for authors' pictures, so I know. See. My question actually to you is, what kind of research did you do when you were going into Harry Dresden on the supernatural regarding magic, demons, the Fae, and Catholicism? Because I love the way you blend the faith and the real as far as faith perspectives.
Let's see. When I was first putting it together, I cruised over to, I think it was a Borders at the time, and went into the metaphysical section and just picked up half a dozen different books on various forms of Wicca and witchcraft. And not like the history of books, but the books that were written by the people who, that's their religion, that's what they practice. And because I said, okay, let me start looking at what people actually think, and I want to put together the magic system for the Dresden Files, somehow out of this. I want to use this as my basis. And so I went through and I picked out everything that I thought was cool, and I threw the rest of it away, and then I added some special effects. Because in the real world, magic is apparently, it's really not very high special effect budget thing. So, I wanted him to throw fireballs. I'm sorry, I started playing D&D in first grade. I'm stuck with that. But that was kind of the research I did as far as that went. And as far as specifically research into Catholicism, I haven't gotten real heavily into. As far as Christianity goes, I was kind of raised on the mental side of fundamental, as opposed to the fun side of fundamental, which I kind of got to a little later. I had a significant amount of Bible schooling, and in my personal life, I'm really closer to Christian than anything else. But yeah, I mean, I was one of those kids who went to camps where you memorized books of the Bible during the summer, like that. So that was, I've been drawing that from my own personal life experience.
Okay, Erica?
Lilu Dallas multipass.
I've been a fan of the Dresden Files for a really long time, and as a religion major, I got my degree in religion. I was so fascinated by how you reconcile traditional religious practices with other spiritual ideas, and how you gave Harry his own sort of beliefs in religion. How did you just come to that conclusion? How did you make it all work? Because I came from a household where, like, Harry Potter was not allowed to come in.
Oh, I know. I actually, I got in trouble for playing D&D in first grade, and so I had to play it on the sly with my friends. At one point, actually, I had my evil collection of fantasy novels rounded up and burned. Yes, that evil Pierce Anthony. I don't know. It's something that it wasn't something I planned. It was something that came out as I was writing, and it was just something I kind of, put together. And this seems to make sense. And that's really most of what I'm doing when I'm writing is I'm building something, and I'm not really sure what it's going to be because I'm too busy building it. But when it's done, it should work, and so far it seems to. But
Sheila?
I was gloating about being here, and my bestie said that your novels are by men for men. I disagree, but I would like to give her some information. So, can you tell me, how do you handle writing for female characters? Is it difficult for you, and where do you get your inspiration for the women in your novels?
Is it difficult for me to handle female characters? I don't know. I don't think so. They seem much like the rest of my imaginary friends. I mean, I try and do the best I can. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all you can do. As a writer, you kind of put yourself in somebody else's head, and you see if you can actually try and think what it might be like to be them. As far as inspiration for my female characters, they come from a lot of different places. But mostly, I don't really sort my characters into male and female, or really human or not human, for that matter. I just kind of build my character. So I don't know. If you think I'm doing okay, great. I can probably get better. I'm working on it.
Sorry, it's right in my face. It's okay. At the end of the Codex Alera series, spoilers for anybody who hasn't gotten there yet. You switched the magic system from lineage-based to what you said was merit-based. Can you describe how you envision that working?
Really, okay, the way it was going to work in Alera from then on was everybody was going to have essentially the same amount of base talent, which was going to be not very much. And if you worked at it, you got stronger. And if you worked at it more, you got still stronger, and so on. So it's one of those things that if you want to be an insanely powerful crafter in Alera in the future, you're going to have to work insanely hard to make it happen, but you can do it. So just, throwing that out there. I don't know if we'll ever get back there, but that was kind of the way it was going to be set up to work in the future. Sure.
If you could write fan fiction for any series, what series would it be?
What?
Yeah, if I could write fan fiction for any series,
What series?
I can write fan fiction for any series. That's why it's fan fiction. Oh gosh, let me think. Probably I would. Except that I think it's too holy. I would do Borkazgan stuff. I've had ideas for like a troop of colonial marines in David Weber's series. Only Manticore and Marines, Let me think. Who else might I do? Because now I'm blanking a little bit. Oh, I would want to do colonial dragons in the Temeraire series. Who would be just kind of thuggish dragons? They would be great.
I like that thuggish dragon.
It's obvious from reading your books that you're a gamer, not just the fact that you also mentioned it a couple
I
of
am
times.
not a gamer, sir. How dare you accuse me?
And having been inspired to play the game with your character's name on it, I wanted to ask you, what games are you playing now?
What games do I play? Okay, for role-playing games, my favorite is Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. And I like the old version better, but I've got to argue with my kid because he likes the new one that Green Ronin did. So we wind up playing that one a lot of the time. I realized that my son had reached 22 years of age, or 21 years of age, he'll be 22 this fall, without ever having actually played Dungeons and Dragons. And I realized, because he'd only played Warhammer, and I realized that I had failed as a parent. So we got a bunch of guys together, and it was him and several of his cousins and several of his friends, and we rolled up characters. Except I wanted to play D&D, except D&D isn't a D&D anymore because it's 4th edition, and I didn't like it. It was kind of lame. So I went and got a Pathfinder rulebook, and we started playing Pathfinder. And because it's tradition, I started them in the Caves of Chaos. Except I said it during a fantasy world zombie apocalypse, and the Keep on the Borderlands is like the last place one of the last places around where humanity still has a foothold, and they're sending the party out to the Caves of Chaos to try and make an alliance with the Greenskins against the zombies. So you're going to fight some of the stuff in the Caves of Chaos, and the other stuff you're going to have to maybe make a deal with, and they're having a lot of fun doing that. But it's awesome. A zombie apocalypse D&D is so much fun.
So I've noticed a lot of the things that you say sound like they could have come right out of Harry's mouth, for obvious reasons. And
Yes, they come out of Harry's mouth.
That's the story.
That is so. I'm going to stick with that because that gives me total deniability.
I said nothing.
I'm just wondering, after writing one character first person for so long, how much that has affected your personality, or how much of your personality you put into the character?
Oh, God knows. Because I sure don't. For the most part, I don't think it's. I have become no cooler and no less nerdy. So I don't know. Maybe that's just reinforced what was already there. As far as writing Harry goes, that's just at this point it's easy. I don't even really think about it anymore. I kind of sit down and do it. Harry's kind of the guy I'd like to think I'd be. If I had that kind of power, I mean, I'd be one of the... I gotta tell you, I think I'd be one of the giggling villains, though. Not even one of the sinister ones or one of the quiet or scary ones. I'd be one of the ones that was having a good time. But Harry's the guy I'd like to think I'd be.
So, when it came to the character of Butters there, why polka?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you. Why what?
Why polka? Of all the things he was really into.
Oh, why polka?
Yeah, where did that come from?
Okay, listen, if you all talk at once, I can't understand any of you.
Erica, did you get the question? Can you repeat it?
Sorry. Once again, polka. The polka music.
Yeah, why polka?
Why polka?
Why not polka? Besides which, I like Weird Al Yankovic's.
Suddenly everything's explained.
I actually think, I mean, if you've never heard like Angry White Boy Polka and all the various polkas he's done, it takes far more skill for him to perform that as polka than I think the original songs did to be performed as pop songs, and I just love those.
Oh, okay, cool. Hello again. I had a question about Harry's family tree, because I remember in Turncoat that Ebenezer McCoy scolds Dresden about Thomas Wraith and says he's not your friend, he's a monster.
Okay,
So,
I can't understand you.
oh, sorry. I was wondering if Ebenezer McCoy was aware that Thomas Wraith was also his grandson, and if he did, what his feelings on that would be.
His feelings on that are bleak, to say the least. Yeah, Ebenezer's aware. He's one of those. It's one of those things he would rather not be aware of. But anyway.
Poor Thomas.
Hello.
Hi.
At one point, I think I remember you saying in an interview that you really like heroes who are maybe not the most powerful, but got the best of the super powerful big bads by cleverness and whatnot. But it's kind of obvious that throughout the course of the Dresden Files, Harry's been getting more and more powerful.
Erica, we're going to have to get her to... Can you repeat that, please, and a little more slowly, maybe? Sorry.
Yeah, we've got like this echo up here and so on, so I do just hear...
It's giving you more story ideas, but it's not answering the question. So.
Great, I'm going to show up as an evil incantation. Okay. So over the course of the series, Harry has been getting more and more powerful. But I remember you saying you liked the clever heroes who got the best of the big bads by just being smarter rather than, being over 9,000. So do you anticipate Harry leveling up anymore, as it were, before the apocalyptic trilogy?
Have you ever read Old Soldiers by John Scalzi, or Old Man's War by John Scalzi?
It's not like
Okay. One of the things that he says in it is, okay, basically these colonials, the deal is when they get old, they go off to space, and they get given like this new body, and the deal is they have to fight for the colonial army for a while. That's the trade. And the new body they get is like incredible. It's like super athletic and photosynthetic and regenerative and everything. I mean, it's super duper cool. And they give them guns that are based on nanotechnology and this incredible armor and everything. And then they give them a lecture that says, listen, in the history of mankind, soldiers have never been sent to war with what they wanted. They've been sent to war with the bare necessities they need to survive. And it's never enough. If you ask any soldier, it's never quite enough as what they would really want to have with them. And that's sort of what I'm doing for Dresden. Dresden kind of started off kind of a little fish, and he's never going to be the big fish in the pond. I mean, he just isn't. The pond's too damn big. But yeah, I mean, you're gonna see more stuff from him, and really, what you're gonna see more of, I think, as the series goes on from here, is not so much Harry getting muscles as Harry getting brains.
I miss his inside plan.
Because really becoming craftier and sneakier and planning things out ahead a little bit better is really how you can become more powerful when you're a wizard. leave the pure power stuff for knights and stuff like that. They can go do that stuff. But Harry's a wizard. It's going to be a little bit different. But he's got bigger and bigger bad guys to fight. And I don't think I'm really handing him enough to keep up with the bad guys. But it's good for him. It forces him to be smarter, faster.
I want to start off by thanking you for saving my marriage. This is a true story. About 8 months ago, my wife had reread the Twilight series for like the 5th time, and things were getting pretty bad. So on a whim, I picked up Stormfront, and 8 months later, we both read the entire series. So, and it's a great series. But my question is, can you hear me? You have a look of confusion on your face.
I'm listening, yeah. That's the point where you said my question is, and I'm like, okay, good.
So my question is, and you just mentioned the Knights, have you thought about, once you refill their ranks, giving them their own novel, or are they just going to stay subplot characters?
I haven't ever really considered a spin-off specifically for the Knights. It's something that certainly could have its own story. I do have an idea for a spin-off series, which is in development, and that way I can have something to do after I get done with it. But oh, cool! Right, if the stage falls over this way, you'll know why. Definitely a spin-off series in the Dresden Files universe is something that I kind of got in mind for after the end of this one when we get finished with it. I don't want to. I've invested too much in this world and done all this building. I don't know if I could just walk away from it like that. So.
That's good. That's good to hear.
I think we all know that the Dresden Files is kind of endlessly quotable. Every book has 3, 4, 20 lines that gets repeated over and over. I was wondering, what's your personal favorite line or quote or even just description from the books?
My favorite? I don't know, man. I don't really think I'm terribly objective on that. I know that my favorite line is the building's on fire and it wasn't my fault. As a writer, I'm proud of that one. Although I did wind up on a writing panel at one point, saying the title of the panel was "Setting Things on Fire." How do you make your writing more exciting without resorting to such petty tricks as setting buildings on fire? And how can I respond to that? I had to just say, just set it on fire. It works.
Hi, so as a pagan, it's very important to me that you write the Fae so realistically as you do. I focus on the Fae myself. So my question for you is, with the folklore you've worked in so far, Celtic folklore, Norse traditions, Catholicism, what has been your favorite to explore, and then what folklore or mythology do you want to touch on in the future?
Probably the Norse stuff has been my very favorite, and seeing how it is blended into kind of how it is seeped down into other parts of culture. Exploring the links between Odin and Santa Claus in particular was fun. We're going to hit some Greek stuff next. The next book, I don't know if you guys have heard the summary of the next book or not, but Skin Game is Mab loans Harry out to Nicodemus Arcleone to pay back one of her debts, and Nicodemus is knocking over a vault that belongs to Hades, Lord of the Underworld.
Shit!
And Harry's kind of got to be part of the team, so it's kind of Nicodemus's 11, and off they go to do that, and Harry turns around to Mab after the first meeting. He's like, "Are you insane? Nicodemus is going to betray and kill me. It's exactly who and what he does." And she says, "Of course he is. I expect superior and more creative treachery on your part."
Sounds like Mab. Sounds perfectly like Mab.
That's kind of where that one's going, and it's been fun so far.
question I have is dealing with Ivy, the archive. What was your inspiration behind that character?
My inspiration behind creepy little girl character.
Creepy little girl?
But I knew I wanted to have a creepy little girl in there somewhere. As far as where she came from, there she was. I thought I better use her in the book. There's lots of weird things running around the inside of my head. I got to put them somewhere.
Okay, so, sorry. In Dresden Files, we all know that contain places of large importance on contracts, and I was wondering, is he contractually obligated to kill Dresden still, or return the money?
Oh, he killed him once. I mean, although that was something more that he did in Lines of a Favor. Actually, I'm going to include a short story on that in the next the next collection of short stories that I do. I mean, it's just like a bit, but it'll explain it. I think I've got 6 or 7 short stories now that have been published that are not were not in the first anthology. And originally, there were like 2 stories that got left out of the anthology, and so the only thing I could possibly think of to do was write enough more short stories to make a second anthology. So I've got. There's a bunch of fun ones in there, and there's the Bigfoot trilogy of short stories, which has been my favorite short stories I've written so far. And where Bigfoot's the client. I don't know if you guys knew that, yeah, that was a lot of fun. But I'll be putting the short stories together. I've got to write a few more and maybe add in a new novella, and then we'll get another collection, and I'll probably call it More Jobs, because I'm so original that way.
So I've just gotten into the Dresden Files with my mom in the last year or so. She's a retired EMT, so we have this impromptu book club called He'd Be Dead Now. And I was wondering if you had any kind of research into what the human body can survive.
Yeah. And although I gotta admit, most of my research is those pictures of like guys with railroad spikes in their skull and stuff like that. At one point I finally realized, oh my God, this guy has taken enough. He's taken far more punishment than a professional athlete would have in a career. It's like, I better make sure the wizards can handle this sort of thing. So Harry got just enough healing factor, not enough to really be of any advantage at any point in the books, just enough to get him back up on his feet so he can take more punishment. But it seemed to blend in kind of well with the whole wizards live a long time thing, so.
It seems several times in writing the Dresden Files that you've managed to paint Harry into a corner that I'm not sure where you're going with, and have you ever found yourself painting him into a corner that you can't easily extract him out of, and is that what you're trying for?
You found myself there. I schedule myself to go there. I mean, sometimes that's the kind of thing I have to do to kind of force myself to get creative and to come up with cool ways to get out of it. Other times I know what I'm going to be doing all along, and so I just I paint a false corner that it looks like a corner to you guys because you don't know that there's actually a door built into the wall right there. And then because a lot of the times people go, oh, that shocked me, or that was amazing, or I never would have thought of that. But you clearly had planned it. It was coming ahead of time, and at the same time, though, I mean, I'm fully aware that I am only planning enough early on to make you think that you could have seen it coming later. Really, there's no real way to do it. But but it is important to me that all the pieces fit together and that it makes sense afterwards. But as far as getting into the corner, I've never felt trapped at any point in the Dresden Files. It's only if you put him in that much more trouble, it is just that much more fun for the readers. It's just that much more I get to punish him, and all of you by extension. So.
Is intuition magical or separate from magic?
Yes.
What about Harry?
Oh, you mean in the books?
Is his intuition magic, influenced by his magic, or separate from his magic?
It's mostly separate. Intuition is mostly just kind of, I think in real life, intuition is by and large your brain putting together things that you're not consciously aware that it assembled. And so for the most part, his PI stuff, that's just him, noticing things and finally putting them together. And plus, I think intuition Harry is a little smarter than conscious Harry, and better dressed. But there's not a whole lot of magic involved in it until you get into the wizards that are like super focused on things like seeing other places and seeing the future, like the gatekeeper is. So.
My question for you is also about quotes, specifically in White Knight, how you bring a lot of quotes that really touch on emotions. When you describe how constructive anger is passion, or your description of pain, I want to know where that comes from, because it just seems so deep.
I just write the books, man. I mean, and you pick up a few things here and there as you get older. I kind of have, and I think about stuff a lot. I wander around inside my head lost a whole lot of the time, and that's the kind of thing that results. It pops out.
All right. As a black cosplayer, I want to thank you for Sonya. And the gatekeeper specifically. If I do get you next year, no one will know me probably, but it will look awesome. But my question is, they say there are no dumb questions, but I'm a sailor. Your books take place in Chicago. Boot camp for us is in Chicago. Yes or no, can you add it to your books? And a character named Alan.
I shall consider it, sir. I'm actually going to need my big trilogy. We're going to have to get the Navy involved in the end. So, Al, okay, Alan.
Lucky bugger.
Man, everybody here thinks I'm just being nice. Joke's on you.
In the series, you describe defensive magics work with the left and more offensive projection with the right. What about left-handed wizards?
Same deal, but unless your heart's on the opposite side of your body. Although there are people who have the heart on the opposite side of the body, but then it's the other way around.
My question is Murphy ever going to take her new job?
Is Murphy ever going to take her new job? You mean other than consulting for the foundation?
No, I mean her new job.
Oh, that job? You'll have to take that up with her and read the next book.
What was your inspiration for the other races in the Codex books?
I need to plug my ears.
Okay, for the other races in the Codex books, obviously the Zerg. I mean, come on, I couldn't call it creep. So I called it croach, which is just another word. And 9-foot-tall werewolves, that was actually based on my dog. Barg is the being that my dog thinks he is. I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of my dog, but he's about this big. He's a Bichon Frise. But man, he is convinced he is tough. Ever since he saved my son from a bear, that's been his attitude. And you think I'm joking, but okay. There's probably enough people here who've heard the bear story already, but all right, real quick. We were living in Pennsylvania, and we'd gotten a puppy, and the puppy was a Bichon Frise named Frostbite Doom Reaver McBain Butcher. Because he was my son's puppy, and he was 9. And We lived in a house that was kind of it was south of State College, Pennsylvania, kind of in the middle of this mountainous area. We were in this 26-mile long valley that was all Amish farms, and with like 3 houses in a little mini housing development right in the middle. But all up and down the valley, it was just it was Amish farms. And one night, the boy was asleep downstairs, and we always put the puppy in bed with the boy. And somehow the puppy had gotten out of the boy's room and knocked over the baby gate, and had climbed the stairs, which he'd never done before. And he'd come upstairs into the bedroom and somehow nudged the door open, which was always kept mostly closed. So there was a significant amount of tenacity involved in this process. And the puppy was over on the side of the bed freaking out. And this is like 2 in the morning, I'm exhausted. I'm like, what is it? Oh, dog, why are you out of bed? What is wrong? And I went to pick him up, and he runs away from me to the top of the stairs and then looks at me. And I'm like, what? And I go to pick him up, and he goes down a couple of stairs and looks at me. And I'm like, okay, I got it. I'm following you. And I shamble down the stairs, and I pick up the dog. I shamble down the stairs to the boy. And the boy is in bed, and he's kicked off all his covers, and he's just laying there shivering like this. And he's got 101 fever. And the dog had figured out what was going on, that wasn't right, and had come to get me. And so I got the boy some Tylenol, I got him covered back up again, got him put back to sleep. I put the dog down at his feet on the bed, the dog curls up and goes back to sleep. I'm like, okay, good dog. I'm kind of impressed by that. It's not too bad. And I went back upstairs. I didn't think anything much of it. And a couple weeks later, it's kind of late February, a couple weeks later, the same thing happens. And I'm like, well, what is it, Lassie? Did Timmy fall down the well? Let's go see. Let's go find out. And I pick up the dog and I go downstairs, and the boy's fine. And I kind of put the dog down. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Getting me up for nothing? He's fine. And the dog, okay, the way our house was like, here's the back door to the house, which is actually where we all went in and out of the house. It was a glass door. And it was right here next to our pantry. We had a great big pantry, and that was right there. And then the boys' room was right here across from it. It was like 10 feet away from this door. And the whole first floor of the house was just like one long area like this. And the dog, he runs about 10 feet down the house, down the kitchen floor, and then stops and looks at me and starts freaking out. I'm like, what? And I walk over to him and he's quiet. And I'm like, oh, God, you are psychotic, dog. What is it? I go to pick him up. He runs another 10 feet. Like that. I'm like, what? I walk over to him. He quiets down. And I'm thinking, okay, this is somewhat odd. And we go all the way up and down the first floor of the house like that twice. And the dog curls up in a circle on the floor and goes to sleep. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? And I pick him up. I put him in bed. I put the baby gate back up. I go back to bed. Next morning, Shannon's off to work. I'm getting the boy up. I'm getting set to go to school. Getting his breakfast and his lunch and everything, and we're going out. And I open the back door to walk him out to the bus stop, and there was a snow the night before. And I open the door, and right there on the steps that led up to that door are bear paw prints like this big. And I'm like, son, why don't you just stay here a minute? And I go out and look, and there's tracks. The tracks go all the way around my house twice. That dog had sensed that the bear was out there, and then he had made me keep pace with the bear up and down the house as it circled my house, so that the bear would know that I knew it was out there. I'm like, okay, dog, you're in. You are in.
Except for life, right?
Oh yeah. That dog can do no wrong. He's 12 years old now. He's retired, but that's okay. You know, he's still my buddy.
Do you own a leather Inverness duster?
I do indeed. Actually, a couple of them, because I wore one for the main part of the outfit of a fighter character in a LARP that I played, and my son was playing my apprentice, so he got one too. So we had the long black coats, we had the black war paint and everything. We were badass.
Where did you get it? Because they are very hard to find.
Actually, you can get one from Pendragon, and they are here at the convention because that's where I got mine. So yeah, go buy it. Leather duster, hairdressing coat. That's what it looks like right there.
So my question is, out of all the Dresden verse characters, which one would you most want to have a drink with, and which one do you want to punch in the face the most?
I'd want to have a drink with Lara. Because, come on. Who do I want to punch in the face the most? Gosh. I don't want to punch him in the face. I just kind of want to give him a poke in the beaky nose once in a while because it's Butters. He annoys me at times because he's so brilliant and yet he keeps coming to the wrong conclusions as a character. On the other hand, I never really planned for him to be around to begin with, so, you know, he was one of those characters that just sort of ambushed me.
I can see that.
Do you have some kind of special deal that lets you quote The Princess Bride so regularly?
No, man. No, I told him I'd do it for nothing.
That was a good one.
It's not my fault. I've seen that movie too many times.
Sheila?
I just wanted to know if you'd consider doing a legacy series eventually involving Maggie inheriting her father's powers, Harry Carpenter taking up his father's sword, and the ubiquitous mouse.
No. Not so much, although I had considered a young adult series featuring them dealing with issues that grown-ups don't know anything about because you forget them as soon as you grow up. And that would be a really fun series to write. And so I considered that one.
I'd read it. Yeah.
You think I should do it? You don't mind?
Yes!
You don't mind waiting longer for the next Dresden Files book, do you? See?
Do you have to? Erica?
I was curious if you actually had an end game in mind for Harry.
Oh, absolutely. I'm one of those writers that believes the story should have an end, or they're not really a story. They're just sort of me trying to get you to give me money all the time. So we're going to do about 20-ish of the novels like we've had so far. And then there's going to be a big old apocalyptic trilogy at the end. Some kind of big old doorstopper thing. Some kind of Rothfussian novel. And I can't believe I made up a brand new word for that guy. Rothfuss. But at the end, Harry's got a definite beginning, middle, and end, and it's the only way I know of to be able to pace the story so that, you know, he doesn't just kind of turn into super guy, so that I can keep pace, his growth pace with, you know, where I want to end up. Although you guys are gonna have to bear with me, I had never written a 20-book long series before, so it's the first time you, first time me.
I don't think they're playing, are you guys?
No!
Okay, Sheila?
When you came in, you kind of looked really overwhelmed by the crowd that showed up today. And I was wondering if you're still continually surprised by the amount of response and love people have for all of your series, because, dude, you're awesome.
You only say that because you've never gamed with me. And it's not that I'm surprised. It's not so much that I'm surprised as perplexed. Okay. Well, this crew over here, those guys have gamed with me. That's not the point. Listen, I just kind of do what I do. I just started off to write some dumb little wizard books, and I'm just going to continue doing that. But yeah, I've always been somewhat stunned by the reaction. The first time I ever got stunned was actually here at DragonCon. There was a panel, and it was a panel like this one. It was a Jim Butcher panel, and I was almost about to be late, and I was coming down the stairs for it, and there was a big thick crowd outside,
And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get to that room in time. There might be people at the panel this time, because I had several of those where nobody showed up, and it was just me. It's like Jim Butcher reading, cheat cheat, cheat cheat. And I got there, and I got to the bottom of the escalator, and I realized that people were staring at me. And I was like, is there something on my face? And they're like, are you Jim Butcher? And I'm like, we're all here to see you. I'm like, really? Because seriously, really, I'm not the everybody shows up and fills a room type of guy. You're just saying that because you like Harry Dresden, and that's different. He's a completely different guy. But yeah, it's still surprising because I don't get it. I've got to hang out with me and change my pants and stuff like that. So I'm less impressed with me.
No. Question up here in the front.
Yes, I wanted to know if someone approached you and gave you complete creative control over a new TV series, who would you cast and why?
Who would I cast? Okay, I'll tell you who I would cast as Dresden if I could get him. And I would cast Michael Fassbender. Just for that scene in X-Men First Class in the bar in Argentina. That was just awesome. And I would cast him. Let me think. Who would I cast as Murphy? If she could be dragged out of I think she's in New Zealand now. Xena's sidekick. Gabrielle. Renee O'Connor. Thank you very much. For Thomas, I don't know. Maybe Matt Bomer. And for other people, I don't know, some other people. But there you go.
We probably have time for one more question. Back over here.